1993, the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization set aside the 3rd of May for the global community in its entirety to remind itself of the centrality of press freedom as the epitome of liberty. Accordingly, this day, we must pause from our regular activities for collective reflection on the health of our liberty as seen through the lenses of press freedom. The World Press Freedom Day reminds us of the threats and offensives against press freedom as threats and offensives against humanity. Highest on the list is violence against journalists, which has been mentioned. Regardless of the guise that violence might take, verbal, structural, or physical, it's unacceptable. We are reminded that in diverse places across the global community, journalists have been paid the ultimate price while on duty or because of being faithful to duty. Ladies and gentlemen, journalists continue to face legal harassment and political incarceration because of their faithfulness to duty. In the age of free flow of ideas, censorship remains a challenge as it ever has been in our dark past. Every country has had its dark past. Let me emphasize that in order for our societies to be safe, the custodians of information must first and foremost be safe. As the government of Kenya, we recognize journalists as critical and integral players in the sustainable human development agenda. We are committed to our role as duty bearers in protection of freedom of the media. Kenya is a signatory to the various international instruments on freedom of expression and media freedom, which have been domesticated through Articles 33, 34, 35 of our national constitution. Our laws providing for the same include Access to Information Act 2016, Media Council Act 2013, Kenya Information and Communication Act 1998, and which is being revised now. Access to information is increasingly recognized as a prerequisite for sustainable development and for claiming human rights. With the SDG 16, the target is to promote access to information, which is anchored in the 2030 UN Agenda. The Declaration on Principles of Freedom of Expression and Access to Information in Africa provides a set of standards on the right to access to information in Kenya. Access to information, especially as embedded in Article 35 of the Constitution and actualized in the Information Act of 2016. The country has made big strides in securing the right to access to information and freedom of expression. I do not want to talk about the Shakahola incident. I think the issues could have been blown out of proportion. Kenya's open governance is anchored in the 2010 Constitution, which includes access to information obligations that require the government to publish and publicize any important information affecting the country. The government remains committed to promoting access to information by ensuring that information is publicly available and transparent, and by providing support for the development of independent media outlets. Technology, ladies and gentlemen, has brought convenience to audiences. One can view, listen to, and read what they want where and when they want it. Smart media houses have taken advantage of this enabling environment and technology to build vast and loyal digital audiences. There is need for training to equip journalists with the digital skills, including training of the use of information sourced from social media. It's a big challenge, and I will talk about it because I attended the Internet Trust UN conference in Paris, and the question was Internet Trust. So what is being published here, how do you regulate it to make sure it's used ethically, and how do you differentiate between fake and truthful information? So the media needs to be trained, because this space is a very fast-moving space, so that you can determine quickly whether what you want to carry is truthful or is false. Media houses need to provide journalists with sufficient ICT equipment for work in both newsrooms and in the field, so as to ensure information carries and proper audience interactivity. To this end, the government, through my ministry, has demonstrated its commitment to upholding these principles by creating and facilitating and also supporting a conducive environment where the government, media, citizens receive, impart, and exchange information and ideas freely in the interest of national development. And I want to report to you that although there have been complaints about media, what we should do in the media, it's not like government is seated there just watching the media. What these media owners, including Agnes, didn't tell you is that probably in the last few months we have held several meetings with them. So the interaction is big. We talk and we express our feelings. They do also. So it's not like we have locked them outside the room, and that the interactions will continue. The ministry has received a number of proposals from stakeholders, including the Media Council of Kenya, on the need to table in Parliament legislative proposals that respond to the current world trends on media development, including legal and regulatory framework, plurality and diversity of media. The ministry is also working, looking forward to reading the contents of the report by the task force set up by my predecessor to review the Kenya media policy guidelines developed in 2009. The task force was an acknowledgement that the previous policy had lapsed. I wish to assure stakeholders that the ministry will do its part in ensuring that proposals progress to the next stage. This will, however, require collaboration and a unity of purpose among all the stakeholders in canvassing this agenda when called upon to do so. Both in principle and practice, the media in Kenya is in its own space, while concurrently also being in everyone else's space. The media regulates itself while also regulating everybody. It occupies that enviable space in which it was in 1787, when you remember the English theorist Edmund Burke said to the British media in 1787, "In the reporters' gallery yonder, there sat a fourth estate, more important far than they all." Maybe I'll, in my remarks, mention something about that. Burke acknowledged the power of the media, even as the media itself rarely does today. On a day such as this, we need to pause to ask ourselves, who is this being we refer to as power when we say the media must speak to truth, to power? For the media, do they even know that they are powerful? The media is especially very important in the post-truth age that we live in today. I heard somebody mentioning Fox News. Yeah, I know. They are leaders in the post-truth reporting. And you know what post-truth does? Exaggerating facts conveniently to serve a certain social or political purpose. Is that where we are heading to? That we all thrive, we want to thrive on post-truth media. I'll give you one instant once I finish the speech by the minister. Those who invented various social media platforms had very good intention to give our generation opportunities to interact and share knowledge and experience. Unfortunately, these platforms increasingly distinguish themselves for selling untruth, fake news, and the blatant intention of falsehoods. The other day, and the UN personnel are here, and the European Union, we had a very interesting experience with these media practitioners. They blew up a story that the government had arrested the former Minister for Internal Security and started covering an non-existent event at night and relaying it live on national television. We were shocked. So I tried to call some, I didn't get them. They were covering nothing. But they were telling the country that the government was just about to arrest somebody. Somebody who has been influential in our politics. I'm sure we even complained to the Media Council. The Media Council asked for clips of the arrest. Nothing was forthcoming. I called some editors. It is in my office that the government spokesperson sits. And although the former government spokesperson has left for other assignments, both the minister and myself are government spokespeople. So you can verify with us whether this is true or not. Nobody called us to verify. But the reporting the following day, it was headline news. Now the accusations was this government was gacking, opposition. Government was supposed to keep quiet on that and say nothing. Of course, we have not said anything. We didn't arrest anybody. But we are supposed to praise the media for doing that in the name of media freedom. Bwana Omoyo, where is self-regulation? Your guess is as good as mine. So these are the challenges we face. And I guess why Kenya does very well internationally is that we are not so overzealous to run after people. But what they were doing was criminal. Reporting falsehoods and making sure that those falsehoods appear on national television. People watch and they think there is some kind of war. You can cause war by doing that. We do not want that. So you have to be careful about this post-truth age, in which falsehoods are refurbished to look like they are truth. You have seen even many people, some people taking pictures of others and they're published in the newspaper that they had died. Then they emerge and say they are still alive. I know you know this is not a fake story from me. Only recently some people announced that a former vice president was dead. But he was alive. Actually, he was having dinner with some friends. But some people had announced he was dead. So you start yelling, well, if you are in Mandera, that somebody you know closely has died when they have not died. What did the regulation do? The media should be ready to listen to criticism and take it positively whenever there are deviations from ethics and professionalism. Freedom of expression should not extend to spreading hate speech, ethnic hatred, and driving other divisive agenda. Our world, this is the only home we have. If we destroy this world, we have nowhere to go. So we should not, in the name of freedom, also drive the agenda that divides our people and takes people to war. There is great national benefit if the media can forward matters of public interest that feed into the development agenda, forward those matters, if there are any criticism, any misunderstanding about those matters, to the relevant authorities to get correct answers. We all know of one person or more who have been reported dead in very elaborate but blatantly false narratives. That's what I was talking about. Regrettably, mainstream media outlets have sometimes picked up cues from such narratives in social media and amplified them. As self-regulating entities, mainstream media must deal with the challenge of fake news. But the mainstream media must also deal with other challenges of our times. It's now common to drown objective facts under intentional appeals to emotion, personal preferences, and a section of beliefs as avenues of influencing and shaping public opinion. As government in a self-regulated media environment, we lack both the appetite and the intention to intervene in the digression from media ethics. The Kenya media fraternity must therefore deal with this challenge. In attending to these challenges and many others, it's useful to recognize that freedom goes hand in hand with responsibility. It has often been said that my rights and freedoms end where someone else's begin. While the World Press Freedom Day reminds us of media freedom as the epitome of universal liberty, it also reminds us of the burden of responsibility that goes with that liberty. Liberty can never be a license to trample on other people's rights and freedoms. Indeed, liberty can never be freedom from accountability. Liberty is rather about freedom from oppressive authority. Those who are not regulated by external authorities, ladies and gentlemen, be careful that they do not become alternative oppressive authorities. The Kenyan media belongs to this category of entities that are self-regulated. It is behooved to balance delicately between its own freedom and responsibility. Away from all that, sustainability of the media must remain a matter of primary concern to all the people of goodwill. And it's all over the world. Emerging challenges are feeding to the shrinkage in the industry. We are witnessing diminished print runs in the print media and the returns on investment on the one hand and the staff downsizing and retrenchment. It is difficult to reconcile our increased training and the production of high-level media professionals on the one hand and the diminishing employment opportunities on the other. So how do we balance? How do we get out of here? Joint conversations between the government and media, including media owners, is of essence. And in one of the meetings that I held with the media owners, I asked them to come up with some proposals to help them so that they don't sink. The problem with the media is that they have been timing political money, especially in our country. They think political money, you cannot construct your business plans around political money. So while the people who like you stay in power, you continue enjoying political money. So when they go, what do you do with the workers? I've asked media owners in this country to keep off that model. You must survive with or without the politics of the day. People don't come to work with you, work in your media company because you support a certain political dispensation. They just want to work and pay bills. So you must have a business model that also protects the workers. When you are a media owner and you take decisions which have the potential to hurt the people you have employed, including forcing media people to ride on a long wagon bearing the colors of a particular political party. So when that party doesn't form power, what do? You have told your workers to do that. Maybe they don't like it, but you're threatening them with sacking. Bwana Moyo, how do you regulate this? How do you protect the journalists who are forced to board long wagons on the road or the streets to campaign for a particular political dispensation, only to realize that dispensation is not going to take power? Then they realize the political money which is coming up dies. Now they start complaining. How do you protect this? It has to be a conversation that we all should participate in to protect jobs. We will continue upholding media freedom. We will ensure that the digital and the regulatory environment is favorable to this freedom. We will remain responsible duty bearers. At the same time, we shall continue to expect our media to exercise its freedom responsibly and to remain accountable to the citizens in the way press freedom is enjoyed. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to indulge you for 2-3 minutes on this. And it can't be stated in a more forceful way than the one I'm making. And I borrow my thinking from John Locke, the distinguished English philosopher, born 1632, expired 1704. All of you in media have come across John Locke because he represents the spirit of modern democratic liberties. And it is his writing that informed the crafting of the Declaration of Independence in the United States. We hold all this truth to be self-evident, that all men are created equal by their Creator, remember, and they are endowed with certain inalienable rights, among which the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit for happiness. That is what John Locke said. And from that, other democracies have built their philosophies. So, but before that, you come to that, if you read 2 treatises on government and many other publications by John Locke, he said, in the state of nature, which means the state of society without government, human beings had set up one against all against one. So because they kept killing each other, and they are the only people in the animal kingdom that are endowed with a rational mind, they sat down and said, how can we continue like this? Every day, for the Kenyans, unalima mahindi mtu mwingine anakuja kuchukua. There was no protection of private property. Life was endangered. So in the state of nature, human beings realized it is a state of anarchy and destruction. So they constituted in the Commonwealth a team to agree. We have these natural rights, right to life, liberty, pursuit for happiness. right to property. But now, these rights are not being enjoyed. We were born free in the state of nature. So what do we do? So that is when they constituted government. Government came in to help them protect. Each one of them with different desires was to submit to something you call government, which regulates our desires. But in regulating our desires, they allow one person, each one of us, to enjoy our freedoms, but not also to hurt others. That is the Lockean thinking. So once we do that, we are conscious that we are not alone in this society. There are others. That's what brings order. If you look at the history of wars, history of wars has something nasty from the media. Do not report things that can cause war. Even in Sudan, where you are quoting, have you ever asked yourself what the media has, sections of the media in Sudan have done to escalate the crisis? Have you? Have we ever thought about what the media did in the Second World War, in the First World War? If you don't report responsibly, you will take society to the state of nature, the state of anarchy, the state of disorder. That is the state of human society before government. Please, the media must provide space to protect order. Let's enjoy our liberties within an orderly environment. The alternative is disorder and anarchy. So what I'm telling you is, speak to facts and the truth. Speak to research and the depth. Speak, for example, for the case of our Kenyan people, speak to the Constitution. Don't reward people who don't respect our democratic institutions, people who don't respect the institutions such as IEBC created by what? By the Constitution. People who don't respect the judiciary, but want to prosecute their cases outside our established democratic order, and you reward them with massaging headlines. You reward them with running headlines. Please keep off that. Ask the hard questions. So you want us to do this thing outside the Constitution. So how does Kenya look like? If today you succeed to eject the president out of State House, what happens with the former losing governors, governor candidates? They will also take over in the counties. What about losing MPs, MP candidates? They will also take over. What are you saying? You are taking us to the state of nature. The media should not celebrate this. Whatever the disagreement, you can disagree. The people of Kenya constituted themselves in 2010 and said, this is the procedure for elections, and this is how you execute your disagreements. And then when you come out, if you reach this stage and you have not been helped the way you wanted, you wait for the second time. Many times we go to court and we don't agree with what they have said, but we constituted and submitted to these laws and agreed that this is what will guide our order. So we speak to the Constitution. Nobody in the media is asking those questions. Speak to the media. Put us to task. Our president appointed cabinet secretaries, then appointed PSS. We were stopped by the courts. He waited. But nobody said he has done very well. But when somebody says he cannot accept what the Supreme Court ruled, you celebrate him across the media houses. These things must stop. So, ladies and gentlemen, you must think about your editorial policies, and I think the best thing to end this is to think about, to encourage you to probably get back to the message UNESCO sent to this conference. It is loaded. UNESCO celebrates order. UNESCO is talking about fake news. And the UNESCO is telling us to establish peaceful societies. The Kenya government will continue protecting press freedom. It will help the media, despite the provocations. It is not going to close media houses. It will make media houses grow. It will discuss with media houses to see how they can save jobs. Your environment can only get better. But as we do that, remember you have a duty to the Republic. Across the world, those who are here, you must never stop fighting for democratic, expansion of democratic space. But everywhere in the world, people expect media not just to do what they did as the fourth estate, meaning checking the branches, legislature, executive, and the judiciary, but also setting the correct agenda to instill order, to criticize those who are not doing things right, and to make sure we have a just society. With those remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I must say I'm privileged to be here and to have shared with you what I think, to welcome you into our country, but above all, to declare today's conference officially open. Thank you.
Wow. Officially opened indeed. A big round of applause to the PS and all the guests. Asanteni sana. We're going to take a photo together. And then after that, we also have a gift of appreciation courtesy of the Media Council of Kenya. So all the members of the Fourth Estate, please be positioned for this memorable photo. So we can oh yeah, sure. Let's do it. Excellent. Asante sana. Big challenge there from the Principal Secretary. Survive with or without the politics of the day. Makofi tafadhali to all our guests. I want to say thank you so much, Asanteni sana, for your time, your contribution. Professor Edward Kisiangani, Principal Secretary, State Department of Broadcasting and Telecommunication, makofi yake tafadhali. And we have gifts, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start very quickly, courtesy of the Media Council of Kenya. This gift will be facilitated by the CEO. We'll start off with, we have Professor Hubert. Okay, we'll start with the Principal Secretary. Makofi yake tafadhali. Okay, asante sana. Thank you so much. Okay. So once again, makofi tafadhali, Principal Secretary. Professor Edward Kisiangani, asante sana kwa kuja. Aya, naye pia tuko na Professor Hubert, Regional Director and Representative UNESCO, makofi yake tafadhali. Thank you so much indeed for coming, asante sana. We also have Her Excellency, European Ambassador, European Union Ambassador to Kenya, makofi yake tafadhali. A big round of applause. Thank you so much for your time, your contribution, and all the other guests. Tunasema asanteni sana. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. All the other guests, Miss Patience Nyange, Miss Zubeida Kananu, Mr. Eric Odwor, Miss Agnes Kaleche, Mr. Alfred Ambani, who will say Asante Sana. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have the timer. Let's have the timer there. It's 27 minutes past the hour. Our time is spent. We will have exactly 30 minutes. Exactly 30 minutes. And we'll have the timer on the screen. So let's take our break right now. Starting right now. 30 minutes. Starting now. When we come back, our focus will be on what the Principal Secretary was actually talking about. Media freedom, responsibility, and the democratization process. Opportunities and challenges. And I'd kindly request Miss Pamela Sitoni, please be on standby to moderate that session in the next 30 minutes. Let's have 30 minutes there. Please, let's kick off our break now. Those joining us via the online platform, we should be back in the next 30 minutes. Asanteni sana.
I worked in the media in this country and Uganda for about 20 years. Right now I am teaching, but I'm not teaching media, I'm teaching strategy and innovation. So we are looking forward to a very exciting 40 minutes, and we want to do it quite differently. I will just ask my panelists very quickly, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, introduce yourself, and then we kick it off.
Good afternoon. Hello. Hello. Good afternoon.
Microphone one.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Titus Gitonga. I work at Transparency International Kenya and programs where we deal with engagements with citizens and mostly accountability through use of media and technology. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Okay. Maxence Melo. I'm from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. I'm the Executive Director of Jamii Forums and also the founder of the famous platform in Tanzania called Jamii Forums. We have been in the space for over 20 years. We reach more than 3 million people every day. I'm happy to be here.
I'm Charles Bichachi. I'm the public editor for the Daily Monitor in Uganda. The Monitor Publications is a subsidiary of the Nation Media Group. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Oliver Matenga.
We can't hear you, Oliver. Just microphone, please. Go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. My name
I think let's go to the next person as we wait for Oliver's mic to be fixed.
Well, good afternoon. I hope I'm audible. My name is Francis Moreidi. I work at Radio Africa Group as the digital editor, and I'm also a council member for Kenya Editors Guild, handling online or digital spaces.
Julia?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julia Majale, Managing Director at Tuko Media. Previously, I was the Managing Editor at Tuko Media. Thank you.
Okay, so now because I hope Oliver's microphone has been fixed, you will begin your 5 minutes to do your keynote as you introduce yourself. And we are here to talk about innovations in journalism. And I think this is a continuation of a conversation that we had in the morning. We're talking about sustainability of media and the business models that we need to adopt if we have to survive in the long run. So Oliver, and then we will come with a few questions to give us perspective of how this industry is. Oliver, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Opondo. My name is Oliver Mazenge. I'm a managing editor at Nation Media Group in charge of audiences and engagement. And I'm happy to be here and to discuss this very important topic which would take a lot of time to do, but I'll try and summarize as much as I can. And the topic is about innovation in journalism and how we adapt to audience changes, as well as what kind of challenges this is presenting the media, as well as what technological changes we are seeing and how we can innovate around it to make journalism sustainable. One of the things that we have had today and we continue to talk about is that media or journalism is not changing, or journalism has not changed. What has changed is how we do our journalism, how we create our content, how technology has enabled us to change the way we are even distributing our content. And so with this advancement in terms of digital media, there are several issues that have cropped up that has made us to be able to first and foremost understand that the audience has really changed in terms of how the audience perceives us. Many years back, when we started 16 years ago when I was in the newsroom, the thing that we used to do to get audience feedback, for instance, was to wait for them to come and visit the newsroom, for them to call on the landline, or to send a letter to the editor. But today, audiences are giving us feedback. Immediately we publish our content, whether we are publishing it on our own platforms, whether we are publishing it on third-party platforms, such as social media, and Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and the rest. And so this instant feedback has created a challenge for us where the audience is keeping us on our toes. And for that, we have to think about how best can we meet the audience needs. And so with these changing audiences and changing in the behavior of the audiences, where most of them today are on their mobile phones and that's where they consume content, how can we as the media ensure that we are getting content to the audiences? Today, even the homepage as we knew it, in terms of websites, news websites, has changed. Today, we have more audiences coming to us through other channels other than coming directly to our websites. So how are we able to reach those audiences? How do we keep them captivated with our content to the extent that they are willing to consume that content? And eventually, when we move to the level where we are saying that we need reader revenue, how are we going to ensure that they are attracted to our content well enough for them to pay for that content? Since we know that advertising models are no longer working as best as we would have wanted, we need to come to go to the readers and ask them, how is it best for us to give you content that you can pay for? And so that is the major challenge that we have to think about. What content can we create? Content that audiences love and are willing to pay for. The other issue that we have seen with audience behavior changes is that a lot of audiences are looking for personalized content, in the sense that they want content when they want it and where they are. Prime time, as we knew it, has changed. Today, 9 p.m. bulletins, 7 p.m. bulletins are no longer as attractive as they were to audiences. Most of them probably have other things to do, and they want this content packaged in a way that meets their own preferences and needs. And so, as the media, we have to ask ourselves the question, are we innovating around what the audiences want? Or are we still trying to create content and distribute content at the convenience of the newsrooms? That is one of the major questions that we have to ask ourselves. And one of the things that a lot of media houses, media managers are struggling with is, how do we know these audiences? With technology, we are able to know the audiences that we are reaching to. We are able to see who they are. We are able to know where they are. We are able to know what time they are coming to consume the content. We are able to know the peaks. And so we are able to ensure that we fit within those parameters. And so audience analytics is something that we can't run away from in newsrooms. We have to make our decisions in terms of editorial content based on data. So all our decisions must be centered on data for us to be able to meet what the audiences want. And this does not just, it's not just about digital. It speaks to data about how people are watching TV. What times are they watching? So that, is it that at 9 p.m., if they are not watching TV at 9 p.m., should our bulletins continue to be at 9 p.m.? If they are not picking the newspaper in the morning, probably we need them to pick the newspaper in the afternoon. So we have to think about how data is telling us and how we can best use it. So in terms of threats that are coming in terms of how audiences are changing their behaviors and how they are consuming content, is that with the advancement of digital, we are faced with a lot of misinformation, fake news. And so as media houses, we have to innovate in a way, how do we become the purveyors of truth? That audiences, when they see something out there, before they believe it or spread it to the next person, they come to us to confirm that information. So that trust that the media has always had is something that we have to continue building. And build it in a way that we are able to ensure that audiences move away from this news avoidance that we have seen in the recent past, where because of the kind of stories that we are telling, a lot of audiences are running away from us. So how best can we do it? So that we become the fact checkers of all the information that is out there on digital. And that speaks to also what we are doing in our bulletins, in our newspapers. It does not hurt for us to innovate in a way that our newspapers are speaking to those challenges that we are facing on digital. It's not a competition between traditional platforms and the new platforms. It's about how can we work together to ensure that we are doing our job that journalism should do, that we have a purpose, as Linus talked about in the morning. What is the purpose of journalism? What is our journalism? And that's a question I always ask every journalist. What's your journalism? What do people know you for? And how does that speak to the content that you are putting out there? So finally, just to look at how technology and the changes that we are seeing and how technology can help us innovate, is that every day when we are speaking about technology and the advancements that we are seeing, is that I'm always telling people are afraid, journalists, newsrooms, afraid of AI. You should not be afraid of AI. AI will never replace journalism. You'll be replaced by a journalist who is using AI, because they can use it better than you. They can do things better than you. Yeah? So when we look at technology, let's not look at technology as a threat. Let's look at technology as an enabler to what we are doing. So that when people are watching more videos on TikTok and are not coming to visit our YouTube channels, we should ask ourselves a question. What are we not doing that it's been done on TikTok that audiences are headed there?
Okay, thank you, Oliver. I think because of time limitations, I want to ask a couple of questions in one, and we'll just run through the room and hear your perspectives. So the first question is this. Innovation begins by understanding your customer. Do we, using your personal experiences, do we really understand our customers? Number one. Two, in terms of creating value for our today is relevant in the sense that it's creating value for the customers to the extent that they are willing to part with their money to pay for the sustainability of media houses. So let's go.
Thank you. So in terms of looking at whether the media understands their clientele, and for us, I'll look at it from the investigative journalism lens, where we are talking about media as a public good and the essence of media in creating awareness on issues that are happening, but the depth at which the consumers of investigative journalism work, mostly for instance, government, oversight institutions, civil society organizations and the general public, because there is some outcry that you want, or there is some reaction that you need to put out there so that citizens are able to act and demand for accountability. And in doing this, I think it's important for journalists to realize that governments in their own ways have now adopted a lot of open governance initiatives, and it is up to us, if you are focusing on investigative journalism, for instance, to go deeper than what is already available. And to the extent that you have gone to the extent of being an expert around an area that you're doing investigative journalism on, and therefore package that information in ways that are relatable to that targeted audience.
Yeah, but you're prescribing a situation. I ask a specific question.
Yeah.
Do you think that value is being created right now?
It is, and I think we have seen it in various ways. So if you look at the various pieces that have come out, you've seen a lot of media trying to package the information very specifically to targeted audiences, and creating, going deeper into investigative journalism, and also the fact-checking bit of it. We have seen instances where that value, we've even fact-checked information that is coming from government and seen reaction from government in responding to that.
Great. Let's hear from Maxine.
Okay. Should I speak Swahili or English?
Whichever.
Cool.
Hopefully, but there are people who don't understand Swahili, so please, if you can English.
I can English, but I'd love to speak Swahili so that we...
So I hope somebody can translate for you. Or?
You'll do it later. I won't speak much. You know.
Okay.
Do we really know our audiences? I may say, nilisema niongee Kiswahili. Niseme hivi, tuna changamoto moja kubwa kama taasisi za vyombo vya habari. Kubwa sana. Kwamba tunajitahidi kuijua hadhira tunayoihudumia, lakini hatujui nani mnunuzi wa maudhui tunayoyazalisha. And for the sake of the English audience, let me speak in English. If you do not know who is buying your content, actually who is your customer, sometimes it's not the content readers who are your customers. And do we really go to the market to do the market survey? I may say not really. And why? I sit on top of a platform which is very popular in Tanzania, and we have been there for over 20 years. We had to revisit of what we do in 2017, like 6 years ago, and came up with a strategic plan to do everything that we are doing right now based on the studies that we held in the mainland.
So what are you doing right now? What are you doing right now?
We have about 11 projects that we're working on. Actually, the landscape of Tanzania under the previous regime made us revisit our programs. We had the Stanford University's Stanford Seed program, which came into our business to get a better understanding, revisit our business models, and trained us as leaders on how we can lead our team. Now, if I speak to the general audience, if you speak to media owners and ask them if they engage the journalists themselves on coming up with the strategy